Hi everyone. It is December 2nd, 2023. My name is Melina Landrio, and I'm here to tell you what's on my mind, I guess. I have a very special gift in mediumship. Some of you may know this about me, but some of you may not. So I'll share what mediumship has been for me, for my life, my entire life, so you can get a little bit of an understanding of the depth of my connection to spirit. Growing up as a child, I didn't have a lot of support. My family looked very loving on the exterior source, and in ways, sure, I was loved, but I was also very neglected. I had gifts that were always ignored. I had experiences that were always shoved off as nothing, or completely caused some sort of humiliation for some in my life, which caused me to completely shut down who I was with the external world, because I felt like being myself was rather not welcomed. And this has just been the story of my life. So fast forward into the depth of what that created for me was in many difficult moments. I never really had humans helping me. I always had spirit. I never felt supported by the humans in my life. My father was ill. My mother was disconnected and had difficulty loving me. I think because in part I was a reminder of a rather circumstantial event that occurred in her life. And there was a lot of fear encompassing what was to become from that circumstance. And I entered in as the outcome or the beginning of the circumstance. And I'll explain this as I go along in story. So bear with me, grab a drink, maybe a snack. We might be here for a little while. I do encourage you to stay. I do encourage you to hear. I do encourage you to listen. And pay attention to how you feel while I'm speaking. You might find what I'm saying resonates at a very deep level within you. You might also find what I'm saying completely outrageous, and perhaps you deny it. That's cool too. You may also find I'm answering some of your questions that you've been asking heaven, God, the angels, your ancestors, in regards to circumstances that you've been experiencing. So I'm going to be representing, in a way, a mirror of how life in spirit and life in human form interact and flow, and the depth of how expansive they can become. So while I was doing a reading the other day, my ancestors urged me to come in and wanted to speak with me. And this often is the case. So I sit down with my ancestors and we have a little powwow. And I start to become guided in a way of creating a particular type of reading. So I was being taught by one of my ancestors, one of my elders, how to read something. And this was a gift this reading. It was a gift because it really illuminated something I never knew. And as I say that, it really pops out a lot of disappointment that I felt in my life, and also cutting through all the illusions of it was a very pivotal moment in this reading. And it was chock full of all the emotions, all the sadness that you would experience in loss, and joy, heartache, and a deep gratitude for the humbleness that occurred. So my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, came out and wanted to speak with me. And he told me a story of a time when he was so happy. And this was in the 60s, I think. 1962, perhaps, is coming of relevance. And this story brought him a lot of abundance and a lot of power. And he expressed by showing me him in this uniform, earning a medal, some sort of honor, and he looked super happy and illuminated. He was invited to all these parties, and my grandmother Shirley and my grandfather Elmer would go to these parties and mingle with the guests, with the friends, the new friends, and the new contacts and such. But often, I believe he would go and be invited to rituals in this type of brethren that he was in. I understand it as a brethren, brotherhood, brethren. And he would go, and he one day went and was so powerful and became so abundant that he had all these opportunities at his fingertips. But he also made one hugely grave mistake, and he ended up meeting a fancy woman who lured him in and created discord for his future. His whole life began to crumble from that point on. So infidelity happened, and an exchange of energies occurred. And in this exchange of energies, the woman had an attachment on her. And this attachment left her and began its journey with my grandfather. So this could be also a name for this could be called an entity. It could be malevolent. It's usually not really benevolent. Benevolent beings don't really jump into you during infidelity. It was a dark force, and it became a curse in his life. Everything that he had that became powerful and abundant began to fall away. Greedy desires, insatiable needs for erotic experiences, this greediness started to ooze into the lives of my grandfather and my grandmother. And my grandmother was devastated and heartbroken by this experience. And I believe that alcohol became a huge factor in their lives. I was told as a young child, growing into an adult, that my grandmother passed away from alcoholism. She froze to death in a snowbank. But I'm now questioning this a little bit more deeply. Anywho, this is the story. So there is an entity, and there is a lot of discord. And in 1971, my grandmother was found dead. So what I'm understanding is that he transferred this entity, let's just call it what it is, a dark force entity, attachment, and it ravaged her. And she started drinking heavily and getting jealous and upset and rageful and vengeance and in need of help and assistance, and nobody helped or assisted her. And I believe that she froze to death in a snowbank with some interference. This entity that attached to her essentially left her for dead. And because it was gifted to her through her husband, through his interactions with her, it was meant to be staying with her until she expelled it to somebody else or had somebody help to remove it. The reason why this is a story I'm sharing with you and it's significant is because what happened was that entity became a curse for my family. And it was promised to be gifted to the firstborn daughter in the next generation. Hi, I'm the firstborn daughter. So my entire life, I could tell you how this entity felt. I didn't know I had one. Nobody spoke of it. So this leads me to believe this brotherhood that my grandfather was associated with was some sort of cult society. And they did rituals. And I believe a lot of entities were, what's the word I'm looking for? Created, summoned, and gifted to women, so sexual demons. And this is what ravaged my grandfather and my grandmother's relationship. And I believe she knew the truth, wanted to speak of the truth, and she was silenced. And I think she was poisoned. I'm getting a taste of something disturbing in my mouth. So it tells me there was interference in her death. And it's hard to find the information. I believe the women in my family were threatened to keep their mouths shut. And I think that's why when I was born, there was so much annoyance with me, with my existence, because I was born as the first girl. And it was clear that I had gifts, and it was clear that there was something else. I wasn't supported by the humans in my life. Nobody got me a priest or some form of help. It was just ignored, and everyone drank booze around me. Everybody smoked. I mean, I was a little girl, and I had a big bald spot at the back of my head from rocking back and forth, trying to keep this entity at bay. And nobody seemed to wonder that what was wrong with me. I rocked every day of my life until I was like an adult, became a mom, and that was me with this internal knowing that shaking my body would help me with releasing or removing or keeping it at bay. But I exhibited a lot of pain. I exhibited a lot of experiences where I was taken over by this being and did a lot of it emitted the signal to bring all the bad people in my life, like all people who would hurt me, all these experiences where I would be raped or I would be attacked or I would just treat myself foolishly, silly. I should have died. Except the thing is I never died. There are many occasions where I should have died, but I never did. And I think that's because I came into this life knowing that I was going to be born into a body that was going to be gifted a demon. And I'm here for purpose. I do have some pretty unique gifts. So much so when people interact with me, they find it a little bit overwhelming because the information that I receive or the things I experience are virtually what they're experiencing when I work with them. All this to say, there is a point to this story, this little story time that I'm giving you that I just recently found out through the ethers that I'm sure my entire family will deny and I might have a hit on my head from. But I'm not too concerned because I'm in God's graces. God is my Father and He's got my back. So do I still have a demon in me? No. How do I know? Well, funny you should ask. We have contracts in life. And these contracts, we interact with people for specific various reasons. Sometimes people owe us karma, and we have some form of experience with them in this life. Once that's done, the contract's over, they move on, we move on, and that's it. Well, I was guided to become a healer. I started to want to do the complete opposite of what I was doing, which was drinking heavily and partying and lots of really inappropriate things for a young girl, woman, to be doing. And when I decided that, I was done, I was going to shift gears, a different crew of people came into my life. All blessings at the time that we met. Felt like it was a very genuine interaction. Lots of people like me, with abilities, and it was nice to finally be seen or heard or felt, and that was wonderful. And you fast forward through the years, and I became a mom, and I was pregnant with my second. It was after my father passed away. It was 2013, I believe I started the course. But this particular date, February 21st, 2014, was the day that the entity was removed from me. I was learning ceremonies to remove entities in this training that I sought out and was paying for to become certified in. And this place came highly sought out. A lot of people raved and really loved the work. And you know what? I had a great experience throughout the whole thing. Nothing was the wiser. I was none the wiser that anything was really bad or corrupt or not in alignment with what they were saying they were offering. I had, changes when I had, when you go in and you have a healing ceremony. For any of you who are healers and you know this, you go in and you have a healing ceremony and you feel shitty going in, and then you're done the healing ceremony and you feel you feel a lot better, right? There's a profound experience for you to understand what's occurring. Well, I was I was there for a contract. I had a contract with the teacher. I'm not sure if the teacher realized that. I'm going to guess they did know, just based on the behaviors that I've understood as of recent of what's really going on. They extracted this entity and they kept it to themselves. They didn't talk about what the entity was, didn't tell anybody about it. They didn't even transfer the entity to where it should have gone. What happened was this entity is very powerful and it's very persuasive. And I mean, I don't know what was going on in this person's mind who pulled the entity out of me. But as a teacher of this program, they should have known better than to take it on. They held it. I'm not sure what they did with it, but they kept it. They didn't fulfill the contract by releasing and healing this entity back to where it belonged. They kept it to create with it. So let's rewind to my original story with my grandfather. He had gifts like me. He was very clairvoyant, very psychic, was a medium, could connect with spirit. Some pretty profound gifts, let me tell you. And this is part of my lineage. My lineage, for as far back as we go, have been gifted spiritually. Gifted in many different ways with spiritual gifts. And my grandfather was getting to a point in his life where he was being gifted blessings. There's a period in your life where if you get to a specific rank in spirit, you will obtain blessings and gifts from God. Owed to you based on karma that you fulfilled, owed to you based on your life plan that you've created with God before you've come to earth. And there's a specific time frame for each person. I know for my family, I'm assuming everybody has this. I believe everybody does. So my grandfather had this gift come in at the time that he interacted with a woman who had an entity. And this entity got in and understood that our lineage had gifts. And so this entity, when was pulled out of me, my teacher understood that I had tremendous gifts and power and that I was going to come into some blessings. So out of greed, my teacher kept the entity to figure out how to take my blessings and my gifts for himself. You don't have to believe me. In fact, I know many of you will think I'm trying to ruin my teacher and combat him. I'm not. He ruined himself. See, the thing is that you can go ahead and tell yourselves that I'm making this up and there's no way in hell. And honestly, it was hard for me to believe too. Except there's so much happening these past few years, this last decade of training with him. And this was the beginning of my training. This is 10 years of training with him. 10 years. So much has happened in my life, but not much growth. Not in the way that was promised through these ceremonies. And, and I start seeing flashes of people coming and my abilities. I know people are out to get me. My energy was siphoned through this entity, through the ability of having this connection with the entity. And what I perceived was going on was my teacher was utilizing my energy to take for himself, to try to take my blessings, to try to take my power. But he wasn't succeeding. He thought he was, but he wasn't succeeding. And the reason why he wasn't succeeding is because I am the bearer of those birthrights. They're mine. And that gives me strength. I shit you not. I just split the deck. So this is how I'm going to go forward with this information. Advice. If you're seeing people coming into your mind space related to this organization, perhaps you're a healer too, and, you know, weird thoughts, sexual thoughts, perhaps, experiences, ideas that you get, and you think they're your own, they're not. This is the entity. And see, what this teacher doesn't know what they're doing is that they are using this entity's essence. They've probably ingested it themselves, who promised him great power and great gifts from me by just having this interaction. And unfortunately, what's happened in that process is my teacher sold his rights to his lineage. So his lineage has come to me in spirit and has asked me to forgive them on his behalf, because they have now been blacklisted in spirit. He has caused so much damage to this entity and my lineage. I know I lived like up to 2014 with this entity in me. I know what happens with it. And I feel as an empath, the people hating on me. And as a clairvoyant, I see them. So I know exactly who has been doing me wrong. And it took 10 years. These people he's been siphoning energy off me to help people try to get pregnant, causing me miscarriages. 3. I know exactly who. Because your energy is linked to me now. Whether knowingly or unknowingly, he somehow made it very okay for people to want to use my energy. Oh, well, she's so gifted and she has no problem with it. She says that I can use a little bit to help with this. She's very gifted in this and this and this, is what I'm suspecting he's telling people. And they're buying it because he's such an honest, talking, speaking man. His stature is grandiose, and they believe he's godlike. But I'm going to tell you right now, he's got no power. What you're experiencing through him is from that demon that's in him. He's sold the lineage to demonics. He's essentially giving you rights through this demonic entity now. So you're paying for his course, and you might be experiencing things, but I don't think you're experiencing the level of what they once were. So if you have been, finding your life kind of going downhill, nothing seems to be working out for you, and you've had some healing with some of the people from this organization, you might want to consider that perhaps maybe you've been affected. Perhaps maybe they've utilized my energy just to give you a little bit of change, so you feel like something occurred, but maybe you're still dealing with the same struggle. Because this is what's amplifying from that lineage now. He's messed his lineage up. The rights that you have to obtain the ceremonies to utilize have been null and void. God is not working through him anymore. I have that on high authority. I know for a fact. He is not working through him anymore. Because his contract with me got torn up. He did not fulfill what he was supposed to do. And I know this because my entity extraction stone broke. When I hold these stones, they tell me the story of what happened. But Spirit also tells me the story of what happened. So curses are real. And people sometimes go to practitioners in certain faiths or traits or energy healing ancient ways. And we expect you to deliver. And when someone is unknowing that they have an entity in them, and you take it upon yourself to keep the entity for yourself because you found secrets of that person's lineage, and you are power hungry now because you've entertained this devil, you are going to be seeking what you've sowed, not what you've been seeking. You haven't been affecting me. None of you have. You guys keep trying to attack me, kill me even. Death ceremonies are being sent to me. Sex ceremonies are being sent to me by all these people affected. It's like a little cult of demonic little entities needing energy, like little vampires. And that's why I've deleted all of you. Because you're not really of the light anymore. And there is a way to heal from this. But, you know, if you willingly went out of your way to cause me pain or my family pain, based on your urges to want power and greed, you're going to be reaping what you sow. It's all falling down now. And if you don't believe me, anybody, you think I'm attacking him or I'm trying to ruin this organization, I'm not. I loved this organization. I have had nothing but the highest admiration for the people there while they were stabbing me in the back. I still stood up and I talked nicely about people. I offered suggestions for people to go visit people and seek people. I offered people to go get trained. I now take that back. I'm not saying the name of the organization, but those of you who know me know what I'm talking about. This organization is not what it was. It's lost its medicines. It is not working from the plane of the Creator. It's been shut down. You go to get a healing session with this person and you will be dealing with a demonic entity. If you've had sex with this person, you've had transference. If you find yourself needing to go having sex with multiple people constantly all the time, have sexual urges or desires or just constant unnatural thoughts, that's the entity. It's got a need for sex. It's an addict. It fuels addiction. It fuels alcohol. It fuels drugs. And it wants to kill you. I know this because it tried to kill me my entire life. And I thought I was the one that was bad because nobody told me I had it inside of me. I had to go to Spirit. I had to go and learn a ceremony from my grandfather. And I had to listen to the most gruesome, somber forgiveness, needing a forgiveness story. It's full of shame, pain. He's not been permitted to talk to me in spirit until just that day. Same with my grandmother. She has kept back. They both felt so badly about what has happened. So I'm just letting you know. If you want to dive into what I'm saying and find the truth of what I'm saying, by all means, please do. But my advice to you is to not use your medicines. I would ask your spirit guides that you were born with and your angels that came in with you at birth, and actually God to protect you and illuminate you in your home and push out all of your attunements and trainings for this purpose, for you to connect through God. And I encourage you to sit and ask your spirit guides the truth of what I'm saying. They're going to back me up. But please, go find out for yourself, because all of this has been casted up in spirit. The past week, there has been, in the ethers, a lot of chatter about judgment and justice and the scales being balanced. And I tell you, a decade worth of people attacking me, trying to kill me. Literally, I plugged in my computer to try to work one day, and it sparked out and almost electrocuted me. And that's when I was alerted what was really going on. I'm not paranoid. I'm not feeling any sadness or anger or agitation or need to attack anybody who's attacked me. I forgive you all. I don't want any of you in my life anymore, but I forgive you all. I could see the pain and suffering and your needs and your wants and where it's coming from. And if you have this entity attached to you, I fucking completely understand that. But I still, it's still a no, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have hurt my children. And a lot of you, some of you have blood on your hands, and you know it. You know who I'm talking to. And I bet you don't feel any remorse for it because you have an entity. If you are hearing me and you don't feel any sort of remorse for what I'm saying, from what you have potentially done, and you know, those of you who know I'm speaking to you, know who you are. I see you all. Spirit sees you all too. They're the ones who alerted me to you. So you guys thought I didn't know anything, eh? You thought I wasn't connected at all with spirit. But that's the thing, you guys really, that's where you guys really messed up, is that I was the kid who was neglected by people, and spirit was who always held me. I've always had the gift of mediumship. I just don't utilize it like some people on earth. I don't go around just doing messages constantly. Hey, I can, but that's just not what it's been for me. I've been using it to help people heal their lineages, like I've been healing mine. I've released my lineage recently because of this information, because of the work I've done, and the leaps, mounds, and bounds that I have gotten to in my own personal healing journey without any interference from external sources. Meaning, where I've been trained did not heal me. I healed myself. And I think that's the message here, is that you can heal yourself. You don't necessarily need to have people charge you an arm and a leg, and and they brag, like when they're talking about what they do for a living, they brag about how much money they make. That's not a healer. That's not somebody who is like sitting there under God's light. I mean, charge what you want to charge, what you feel is worthy of your time and your efforts, of course. But bragging about making money off people suffering, that's a whole nother level of something else. And that shows me the demon, the entity, the dark attachment is ruling. Because that person used to never be like that, I suspect. I suspect they've been taken over by a lot of dark energy. And I suspect a lot of the people in their surroundings are doing the same. So, don't use your rights, don't use your medicines, don't use your healing teachings for this. Just connect to your pure source of God and your guides that you came in with, and ask them the truth of this tale that I tell. I think a lot of you already know you've had sessions where you didn't get the same outcome that you used to get. I think those giving sessions now are probably finding they're not really the same power they once were. Or perhaps maybe they're not even working because the lineage has fallen. This demon has single-handedly taken out a fucking lineage of people that should have been top tier. And you could call me crazy, and you could say whatever you want about me. I don't hate any of these people, And I didn't want to have to be the bearer of this type of message. But this is where it's at. So people attacking me, wanting the worst for me and my family, I'm just going to let you know right now, we're feeling great. We're feeling happy. Your little thought spells are starting to fall off of me. And, my wrinkles are smoothing out. My beauty's coming back because some of you are wishing ill beauty on me. Oh my God, you guys. This is the demonic. This is the entity, and you are totally trapped. And you need some help. And you're attacking the person who could likely help you. You guys have not thought about that, have you? You did not think that through. Anywho. Connect with your spirit guides, connect with your angels, and connect with God without any interference. And ask them the truth of what I'm saying. For your safety and the safety of others, I really implore you to do the right thing. And, I just, again, want to iterate, no hard feelings to anybody. I don't condone your actions. I don't think they were really great. I do think that they were disgusting. Some things that you wished upon me that you created for my family was just really unhuman-like and disturbing. But I understand that sometimes we, as humans, engage in forces that impede on our wants and desires more than our needs. So with that, I will look at you all with kind eyes and grace, and I will forgive you. And I will teach my children to do the same as we repair and heal from the damage that has been done for the last decade. I'm not sure if most of you knew you were using my energy, my children's energy, to heal your shit. Because that's what your teacher was doing. May have even used other people's energies too. Maybe this was a thing for him. Regardless, power's gone. He's been unplugged. And I wish you all peace, healing, tranquility. I hope you can find, for those of you that were unaware, I hope you can find a way forward through this. I am disconnected from anybody with those rights. There'd have to be a lot of change in your passage for me to be able to align with you if you never met any souls from me. And you'd be going through my guides before I connect to you. Just some food for thought. Blessings. I love you.